smiles on a Monday. It is Breeders' Cup Monday. My name's Louie Rabaut alongside Sean Collins. Welcome in yet another edition of BloodHorse Monday. Purple shirt. You're damn right, Sean. How about that? A little purple shirt talk on a Monday. It is the 27th of October, which means you and I are about to get on planes. Mm-hmm. God bless the federal workers right now. My goodness. They, well, number one, and number two, they're working through the shutdown. We appreciate all the TSA folks and all the things that'll be hanging out with us the next couple of days and all that. But Sean, we got to go to Superstar or Future Star, excuse me,
Stars
Sunday,
of Tomorrow.
Stars of Tomorrow, whatever they're calling that thing now. I guess it's their like 12th year or something, so I should probably learn the name at some point. We got a Derby and an Oaks winner out of that day last year. We should probably learn those things as well. Potential that we saw that yesterday, frankly, yes. With a couple of runners there. We'll get into that. Keeneland closes in what I thought racing-wise was a very, very good meet. Mm-hmm. And it also spurred a lot of questions about wagering and who's in the pools and who's doing what. So frankly, started a conversation about those things. I wonder if we won't look back at Keeneland fall of 2025 and talk about that part of the conversation more than anything else. Sort of an interesting thing, but frankly, Brendan Walsh will not want us to do that. So we're not going to do that on the show. How about that? Well, Sean, how are you, man? You've been kind of all over the place, watching races all over the Commonwealth.
Watching training all over the Commonwealth.
It was raining on us all the time and stuff, so I'm a little excited to get up to Del Mar.
Yes, getting rained on this morning. On the way over here, definitely we'll be looking forward to seeing that sunshine out there in California.
Why is it when it's 60 and raining here, it feels like it's 40? Well, why is it like that?
Because it's Kentucky. And why? But yeah, it was an exciting weekend all around here. You had obviously some great racing going on at Keeneland. You had some great racing yesterday at Churchill Downs for the beginning of their meet. And on top of that, we had all of our Breeders' Cup contenders that are here in Kentucky putting in their final workouts, gradually starting to filter out and fly on out to California themselves. I believe our last group of them left today. They should be on their way right now. I know I saw a picture of Tumbarumba on the trailer earlier today.
Tumbarumba
of him heading to the airport. So
I love that horse is getting some pub, man. Because Brian Lynch, he's a fun horse.
Yeah, Tumbarumba's always been he's been a hard trier his whole career. It's nice to see him get on a win streak here, finally going into the Breeders' Cup. Got to see his workout on Saturday at Churchill Downs. He looked great. You can check out my footage of that work and also hear Brian Lynch's thoughts on BloodHorse.com. I have a video up on there that you can find in our latest features tab on the front page of the website. And not just him, a whole bunch of horses. I was up at Keeneland on Thursday to see She's So Spicy's breeze. I saw a bunch of horses.
And you talked with Irad Ortiz after that.
Irad Ortiz and Jose D'Angelo.
Yep.
I saw a whole bunch of horses breeze at Churchill on Friday, so I got the videos from that, and a bunch more of them breeze on Saturday, and then I left Churchill and got up to Keeneland in time to watch Wesley Ward's turf horses breeze. So you can find all that footage, all those interviews on the BloodHorse.com website. Start figuring out. I know the post positions get drawn later today, so start to figure out who you want to bet on. Hear some of these thoughts from the trainers as we get that way. Yeah. Hear some interesting stories like Tumbarumba, why he's named Tumbarumba, and the fun connection that he had with his workout partner, and how their names kind of connected for Brian there. So little fun things like that as we head toward the first Saturday in November and the last Friday in October.
It is like when May 1st is the first Saturday.
I know, the Oaks is on April 30th.
And the Oaks is in April, and you're like, it's not supposed to be in April.
It's like, wait a second.
It does throw me off when that happens. It's rare, but it does happen. It's interesting. I put my arm around you, Sean, because it was about this time last year that we talked about doing this show.
Yeah, you mentioned it to me at the Breeders' Cup while we were at Del Mar. It was the first time you
mentioned it. And frankly, I want to be fair to to us and to the audience, or whatever else. Like this wasn't the show. We had actually thought of doing something different.
Yeah, it was supposed to be, I think, just
a Derby trail kind of thing, whatever. And we sat down and we talked to to Frank and Scott, the team at BloodHorse, and they're like, "What if we wanted to do more than that?" Yeah. And I said, "Great news. Turn to page 5. I already wrote it down." And it was BloodHorse Monday. Here we are. But yeah,
thank you to everybody who has supported us through these first 39 episodes.
Tremendous support from the viewing public, and we really do appreciate it. Please comment, please like, please follow, do whatever you got to do to make sure you do that. And this episode, like all of our episodes in October, presented by our friends at Keeneland, the world's marketplace. The Keeneland Championship sale is Wednesday, October 29th in the Del Mar Paddock, and the Keeneland November breeding stock sale begins Tuesday, November 4th. Learn more at Keeneland.com. We'll talk with consigner Conrad Bandoroff later on. He's the vice president at Denali. And some turfers, man. And then a gun runner. How about that?
Yes.
All right.
That sounds like a lot of great stuff.
I've had a lot of fun talking with consigners, and certainly as part of this episode, people are going to hear some other stories as well. But the consigning side of this, it's not something in my career that I'd gotten to do prior to BloodHorse Monday very often, once in a while, but it wasn't at BloodHorse is what we do best.
Yeah.
Is breeding, is sales, is this kind of work, right? And so you'll hear from Conrad Bandoroff. It just makes me appreciate what people are, Sean, you're a Knicks guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In the NBA draft, once in a while, the guy that goes in the top 10.
Talk about the NBA this week?
So get your on horses. It's a lot cleaner. So the NBA draft, once in a while you see a guy go 8th and they're like, it's on potential.
Yeah.
Right. You're like, what do they see in that guy? Right. What do they do? And then you go to these sales and you're like, what do they see in that horse? Right.
Mm-hmm.
What do they see in this bloodline? What do they see in this? And it's so fun to get to ask those questions, get behind the scenes. And we'll do that later on with Conrad Bandoroff. But to kick off this episode, something that we've kicked around in show meetings and different things ahead of now is the daughters of the late Larry Johnson, who was a tour de force in Maryland and in the Mid-Atlantic, and on the breeding side, got us started as the ladies will tell you at Charlestown,
mm-hmm.
and just moved his way up in that circuit. The breeder of Mindframe. So Tracy Mulroy, Kelly Caraballo are going to join us here. Conversation I had with Frank Angst. I think you were watching races that time.
So I was doing both.
Yeah.
But, I was watching both the interview and
Sean's producing and looking like Sean Gold.
Yeah,
I mean,
little behind the scenes there. So I'm sitting there watching the production of this and also looking up at the window. I'm like, is Chunk of Gold winning? He is winning. Oh wow, look how much he's winning by. Okay, back to focusing.
But this ended up being a really great walk through Larry's career.
Mm-hmm.
Frankly, you get inside of a horse racing family.
Yes,
with this interview, and I think it's an underrated thing in our sport that so many people at the highest levels of what we do, if it's in broadcasting like us or in breeding riders, we see that junior next to name so often with these riders as well. It stands out as this horse racing is a family business.
It is.
It really is.
And for those that don't know, Larry passed away earlier this year. I believe in February. Yeah. He fortunately got to see Mindframe hit the racetrack, have that impressive first couple starts, and then run a very game second in both the Belmont and Haskell Stakes. He unfortunately has not been able to see Mindframe turn into this magnificent classic horse.
In my mind, he still won the Haskell, just by the way. That's all.
But so we will go ahead and hear from his daughters here.
All right, rolling along here on another edition of BloodHorse Monday. Thanks for hanging out with us and starting your week with BloodHorse. Frank Angst alongside here. My name is Louie Rabaut, of course, as part of the BloodHorse Monday team. Really excited to welcome in Tracy Mulroy and Kelly Caraballo. I got it right. How about that? From Team Mindframe, and of course from Larry Johnson's family. And Frank, I know that this is a topic that we've tossed around for a while, having the Mindframe connections on. So I'm going to throw it over to you. But Tracy and Kelly, welcome to BloodHorse Monday.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. I was fortunate enough to briefly meet Kelly and Tracy at the Tobo Awards.
Oh, yeah.
They accepted the award on behalf of their late father, Larry Johnson, as the Maryland Breeder of the Year, accepting for their father. And he is the breeder of Mindframe, who, of course, is targeting and pre-entered in the Breeders' Cup Classic. So just a tremendous accomplishment for Maryland bred. I mean, Nick Sco was a recent Horse of the Year, so Maryland, the numbers of breeding are down in Maryland, but still seeing high quality horses coming out of Maryland. So we're so fortunate. Thanks for joining us today, Tracy and Kelly.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. I guess first of all, can you just recount your story a little bit and what did it mean to accept that award on behalf of your father?
Sure. Kelly and I grew up going to the racetrack with our dad from a very young age. We used to go watch workouts at Bowie and Timonium, and we spent a lot of Saturday nights at Charlestown. So we really came from the bottom of the and it's just always something we loved. And our dad, we always say, was like kind of the ultimate girl dad. He got us involved in sports and loving sports. And we just had so much fun always doing it with him. And, in the later years, as his program sort of elevated, going around the country with him and watching his horses. And it's been a remarkable journey. And to see him get to this level of success is just something I don't think even he would have dreamed of.
Wow. Kelly, what did that honor mean to you? And talk about your father's legacy with this going forward.
Well, as you could see from when we accepted the award, it was very emotional, and continues to be very emotional for us. It's all been sort of bittersweet, but we sort of didn't hesitate when he died. We knew what we were going to do. His farm is called Legacy Farm, and he always intended to turn it over to us at some point. And we dove in, and we've been, it's been quite a ride since February. We've had some big highs and some big lows, and we're sort of learning that's how this business goes.
Gotcha. So both of you were pretty enthusiastic about keeping things going on the breeding and racing side.
Definitely. Yes. I mean, we, like Tracy said, we spent a lot of time at the racetrack with him growing up, and weren't quite as involved in his breeding operation, although he was trying to get us more involved. And, I actually went to a couple of sales with him and was supposed to be at the sale where Mindframe was sold. But unfortunately, we all got COVID and had to watch from home. Yeah. So, but we were starting to sort of learn more about his breeding program.
Tracy Mulroy and Kelly Caraballo with us here on BloodHorse Monday. Tracy, take us through the emotions. You mentioned, you and Kelly mentioning, supposed to be at that sale where Mindframe goes up, that sort of thing. Describe to those of us who have never been in that spot. You breed a horse, he goes off to the sale, and then he turns into the superstar that Mindframe is. Watching those races, do you find yourself rooting for him like he's one of your own kids or something like that?
Absolutely. It was our dad was alive in 2024 when Mindframe had his first 3 races, and we watched the Belmont at his farm with him, and I'll never forget watching him when Mindframe ducked out and still almost won the race. And then so he started to see that Mindframe was special. And I think even as a younger horse, people would come to the farm and say, "Wow, who is that?" And so I think Kelly said to him after the sale, what if he's the one? What if he's the one, Dad?
Wow.
And you just sold him. And and our dad said, well, then I've got the money in the bank, and a million things can go wrong between now and even getting to the races, much less being a winner. So to get to where he's gotten is it's incredible. And it's, as Kelly said, it's been very bittersweet. And he wasn't here when he won a grade 1. Either of his grade 1s. So we were fortunate enough to go to the Stephen Foster and be there for that race. So that was an incredible experience. That was the win and you're in. So it's just been emotional, and it's been a ride.
Talk us through the aftermath of that Stephen Foster. I really want to know this. You're in the winner's circle. The Twin Spires are above you. You got to, that horse is going to go to the Breeders' Cup. I mean, what a moment, Kelly. I have to imagine. Just incredible for you, your family. Just talk us through the emotions of that moment.
Honestly, it felt sort of surreal, and it still sort of does. But it's like you said. I mean, we cheer for Mindframe like he's still our horse. Like I am just as excited to watch Mindframe and be in the winner's circle with him as any of our other horses. and Mike Rapoli, and has been very gracious, and we went sort of as their guests, and I actually had the privilege of walking Mindframe into the winner's circle at Stephen Foster, which it was truly an honor to be there.
That's tremendous. And I think one of the many great things about the Breeders' Cup is it highlights the breeders of these horses. How big is it for you, Tracy, to see your family's name associated with this horse as he gets ready for Breeders' Cup?
I mean, yeah, it really, it's surreal. It really, I mean, our dad has about 150 horses. That's the size of his operation. He breeds, right now he's breeding around 20 horses a year. Back then, maybe it was like 15. So that, to produce a horse of this quality is just, it's a remarkable story. It really is. And the origin of it is, he went to a sale in 1976 and scraped together money with, a couple people, and they brought 3 horses. One nobody can remember the name of. One was named Beltway Traffic and was aptly named because he would not come out of the starting gate. And second one was Rand's Chick, and she bowed and never made it to the track. But all of this family, including Mindframe, all descends from that horse that they paid $2,500 for. So, I mean, you guys know that just doesn't happen. It's just a remarkable thing. And my one wish is that he was just here to see it.
Of course. And Mindframe, of course, is out of Walk of Stars, and he's a son of Constitution. And you were telling me your father became a big fan of Constitution after seeing how well this horse turned out.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, yeah.
He did. And he had my dad was, very thorough in his horse stuff, very passionate. So he had his breeding plan already, and then Mindframe ran his first couple races, and he said, I went in and re-scrambled everything so that I could get Walk of Stars back to Constitution. So he did, and that baby was born this year, a filly. We've seen her. She's gorgeous. She's big. She's a nice filly.
That's terrific. And then while you sold Mindframe, you stayed in on Future Is Now. What has it been like to campaign that horse this year, Kelly?
It's been truly unbelievable. We went to, her first race of the year at Keeneland in April, just a few months after our dad died. And when she crossed the finish line, first of all, we weren't even sure that she won. But I mean, the tears were just flowing. And, she is truly a remarkable horse. And, she shows up every single time, and it's been so fun. And, we spent the summer sort of following Future Is Now around to her races, and we did it as a family. And, my dad wasn't there, but, I think we all felt him there with us.
Yeah, Tracy, you look at those past performances for Future Is Now, and it's a whole lot of ones, a couple 2s and 3s sprinkled in, but about as consistent as they come.
Yeah. One of my friends referred to her as a winning machine, and she really is. Unfortunately, she was scratched out of the Franklin. Yeah, the Franklin.
Yeah. She won last year, right?
Which she won
did.
last year. Yeah.
And would have been a big favorite this year, but
she would have been, yes. So, she's 5 turning 6. So, her next career is a broodmare, and I think we're just trying to figure out when the right time is, but we may be there.
Yeah, that's the old the racing career's over, which we're saddened about, especially as fans. But for you guys, you get to choose the upcoming sire for a terrific filly, so that'll be exciting too.
Yeah, and she's in addition to being incredibly fast and consistent, she has just an incredible personality. She's so sweet, and she's a great horse.
Tracy
Is that the
Mulroy
plan
and
to
Caraballo.
breed her, or would you look at selling her, or where yet, or have you decided yet?
We haven't decided yet. I think we're exploring all of that. Our original thing was we take it race by race, right? So we were not going to make any decisions until after the Franklin, and then that, unfortunately happened. So now we're sort of recalibrating and figuring out what we're going to do.
Tracy and Kelly, one of the legacy points of Larry's career is his influence on the state bred program there in Maryland, but also on the Virginia certification program as well. A real first attempt at it this year, right, with the expanded running at Colonial, some of the less race days in the summertime, at least there in Maryland. Do you think your dad would have been happy with how things shook out this year? Because I think he would have been.
Yes, absolutely. I think, I think it probably is just where he would want it to be. He worked hard for it to get to this place. And, everybody that we see along the way, says your dad is responsible for where this program is. He worked hard to do it. Was extremely passionate about it. He might have made a few enemies along the way in Maryland and Virginia. But he was very passionate and always did what he thought was right and what he believed in. And I think he would have been thrilled.
Meaningful change.
I think it's a terrific idea. I think it's a terrific idea that can benefit both racing with some larger fields and the breeding programs in both states, really. So I would love to see more states look at their options along those lines.
Oh, it's exactly.
Yeah, and it has resulted in the Virginia crop increasing. So I don't know the numbers, but I do know that the crops have increased.
Yeah, some regional cooperation is very much needed, I think. So it's great to see that.
Yeah, it's really, really fun to see. And Tracy, frankly, you've already indicated in this interview, you all are going to carry on the breeding tradition there. And frankly, it's very cool, I think, that you get to do that and you have confidence in it because of Larry, frankly.
Yeah, he left us with incredible horses. Most people don't get to start here. So not only incredible horses, which he has, elevated. Like, if you look at the stallions he's bred to in the last few years, you can really see where he was going. So yeah, it's an honor. And he also left us with an amazing team of people. We really, we got thrown into this overnight and, in the midst of grief and all of that. And we just could not be more supported in the industry in general. The number of people that come up to us and say, we loved your dad and whatever we can do to help you. And then just the people that my dad worked with that we continue to work with. So we are really, really blessed.
Kelly and Tracy, thanks so much for sharing your stories. Was there anything else you wanted to add? Or I think it's a tremendous story.
Well, does he win the Classic? That's obviously the last
there is
question.
that.
Tracy, come on. What's fair odds on our guy Mindframe here? What are we doing?
Well, we'll be cheering for him. He had that terrible, trip experience in the, in his last race in the Jockey Gold Club. And, that was unfortunate, but we're hoping he wins and we'll be cheering for him. We thought about actually going, and my dad actually went to the Breeders' Cup every single year.
Oh, wow.
And, it's really sad that he's going to have a horse run in the Classic and he's not there to see it.
An incredible tribute to his memory, though, frankly.
Sure.
It really is. It is, frankly, the best tribute he could probably have is exactly that. Well, Tracy, Kelly, we appreciate you jumping on the program so much. All the best on Saturday. Hopefully, Mindframe gives you something to jump off the couch about on Saturday. And be well. And best of luck running a breeding operation. My goodness.
You say that as if you're like, good luck.
I don't know how I would do it. I'll tell you that. Thank you for joining us here on BloodHorse. All the best to you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Well, thank you to Tracy and Kelly for joining us here on the program. That was a fun interview to do, Sean. Again, like I said before the interview, that family aspect of horse racing, it's not going anywhere. You see it all over the sport. You see those last names. You'll hear later on in the show from the Denali folks, and you hear the last name Clement, for example. And, we think of, the grandiose sorts of names. We see, Steve Asmussen's kids riding for him, that kind of stuff. It certainly is a family business. But this side of it, the side that we don't, we get to see, but the average person never gets to see, right? If you go to the track, you don't know anything about the breeding farms or anything like that. You're not, at those places necessarily. To get to pull back that curtain a little bit, and you see how much it gets into your blood when it's what your family does.
Exactly.
Right. And just how much this is, it's just once you get into horse racing, it's tough to kick. It really is. And you got that from both of those ladies. I really appreciate them jumping on.
Yeah, when you look at it too from this perspective, Mindframe is a horse that, Larry planned all the breedings.
Yep.
Or the breeding of, he was there when the horse was raised. He was there when the horse's racing career started. So it is that legacy kind of aspect of it. As even though Larry had passed away earlier this year, Mindframe's still carrying that legacy on to racing's biggest stage, the Breeders' Cup. And so, he'll have the opportunity to win the Breeders' Cup Classic this weekend. And, I'm sure they're going to be watching. They're going to be cheering him on. And I hope they have a great experience, win or lose. I hope it's really an opportunity for them to just kind of celebrate all the work that their father put into this industry.
He also might have won the race of the year until the Classic in the Churchill Downs.
Yeah.
Might have been the race here. Yeah. We might look back at 2025 and say, that's what that was. And by the way, I wanted to close that segment by saying the work that Larry did for the Virginia certification program for the breeders in Maryland cannot be understated. It cannot be understated how much work he did for Mid-Atlantic Racing, a product that I love. And so I just getting to interview them and get to talk about that was really spectacular. But we also talked with David Jennings.
We did.
Who's with Racing Post.
Yeah, for those that don't know, obviously we have a great relationship with the Racing Post. They are a European-based publication out there in England and Ireland. And so if you've ever read a recap of one of the races over in Europe on the BloodHorse website, it's actually from Racing Post. So we have a nice little arrangement there where we can trade back and forth our race coverage to keep you up to date on everything you need to know that's happening around the world. And so we have a great relationship with Racing Post. David Jennings is a writer for them. He was able to hop on with us, give us a little update, just some things to know on some of these European horses that are coming over. We obviously had Kate Hunter on the show a few weeks ago in order to talk about the Japanese horses, give us an idea of what to expect from them. Now we're going to get the European horses as well. So you have your best chance to know what to expect from these horses that maybe you don't know going into the Breeders' Cup. But it's great to have David on here. I myself will be appearing on one of the Racing Post shows to talk about the American horses later on this week. I believe we're filming that Wednesday and it'll be up on Thursday. So if you want to hear our perspective in that,
you need more Sean in your life is really what that is.
If you need more me,
more Sean's face, yes.
If you need more me, definitely go check that out as well. That obviously will dive a lot more into the European horses on that show as well, since that's the focus of their show, and I'll be kind of pitching in some of our American hopes. So definitely check that out.
Fantastic. All right, we'll check all of that out. But here is David Jennings from Racing Post. All right, it's Breeders' Cup time of year on BloodHorse Monday and everywhere else, frankly, including in the British Isles. His name is David Jennings, joins us from Racing Post. So glad to have him in. Of course, this time of year, David, we are interested in those shippers from the islands, but also, once in a while, we got to talk French racing and German racing, those kinds of things. How are you this morning?
Very good, yeah. Looking forward to next week. My flight is Monday morning, so I get in Monday night, and first time there last year, and absolutely loved it. Didn't want to leave the place, so looking forward to coming back.
Yeah, Del Mar does that to everyone, regardless of origin of air travel, for sure. So we're happy to have you back this coming year in Southern California. Wanted to get your thoughts on some of these shippers that will be coming over, including on Friday on Juvenile Day. Last year, we got to watch a superstar in Lake Victoria bring her talents over to Southern California and absolutely dominate her race this year. I wanted to ask you about Precise, who's going to land in a similar spot on that Friday this week, by the time this angles. Irish bred, daughter of Star Spangled Banner, of course, that Aussie line there. Is she quite at a Lake Victoria level coming into this race?
Well, this is the thing. Aidan O'Brien, who's who's prone to a bit of hyperbole, I suppose, has said after Precise won the Fillies Mile that she could even be better than Minding. Now, Minding was a spectacular filly, like absolutely as good as you can get. And so he was going beyond Lake Victoria and even going to some of the legends in Ballydoyle. So that was an extraordinary statement to make after her success in the Fillies Mile. But she has just kept on improving all season. She went into the Moyglare at Irish Champions Festival at the Curragh as second or third string behind like Composing and other fillies who had done more than her. But she proved her Goodwood win was no fluke, and she won easily there. But she stepped it up another gear at Newmarket. She really travelled through the race. The race won very early as well. And Christophe Soumillon was waxing lyrical about her after the race. It seems to be that we've seen this over the years. These fillies, especially juvenile fillies from the Aidan O'Brien yard, he runs them so much, but they just thrive on racing. And you often see, over here, our classics, you'd often see horses maybe favourite after one or two, maybe a Derby horse who might be favourite after one, possibly two runs. These fillies from Ballydoyle, they just run all the time, and Precise seems to be getting better. I'd say she's every bit as good as Lake Victoria, and I'd say Aidan is going over with possibly his strongest team that I can remember, as in short prices. If you think of Mini Hawk, of Precise, of Gestad, he's going over with proper rock-solid favourites this year. And as you know, he's chasing this world record of 29 Group 1 wins, and he has the previous record, so he's against himself.
And he also is tied for the record for most Breeders' Cup wins here as well. Is that an accomplishment that means anything to him, as he talked about wanting to, try to take that number one spot to himself, break that tie with you and Lucas?
Do you know what? I interview Aidan a couple of times a year, know him quite well, and I did a big interview with him for the Racing Post a couple of weeks ago. And whenever you mention like the world record or breaking records or anything like that, he always says, never even think about that. I just go from race to race. But you can guarantee he's thinking about it. You're talking about somebody here who is extremely competitive, who is one of Ireland's greatest sportsmen of all time. And he's obviously he's a proper gentleman who's got a real soft side, but he's a winner. He wants to go down in history as the greatest Irish trainer of all time. And at the moment, he's bang on course for it.
He's getting very close. David Jennings with us from Racing Post. Another one he'll have in Friday on one of two races is True Love. Is he better sprinting or going a mile, do you think?
True Love is a funny type of individual in that she basically, her campaign has been a little bit stalled in that she was supposed to run in France, and herself and Gestad got basically mixed up because Gestad missed a piece of work and then had to go to a race in France, whereas True Love had to run in the Phoenix Stakes in Ireland. Gestad was supposed to go to Phoenix Stakes, and True Love was supposed to go to the Morning in France. So they had to overlap just to facilitate Gestad, and she was beaten then in the Phoenix Stakes. But she's got her career back on track. She was really good in the Shively Park. I thought she showed a good attitude that day. I thought she was just all speed, but it was in the melting pot, kind of 100 yards from the line there, and she really stuck her neck out. She's another one. Like she's got loads of ability. She's got loads of pace, and I think Del Mar will suit her because you need that real early pace. You need to be in your comfort zone in Del Mar because you need to be comfortable over those sort of trips around those tight turns. And she's one that's really I'd say she's going to relish Del Mar.
Yeah, 5 furlongs. Got to get moving quickly there at Del Mar. David Jennings with us. Moving to Saturday, David. Tons of runners, of course, in the older horses there. But in race 5, in the turf sprint itself, Arizona Blaze really come into his own as a 3-year-old. Are his recent results, 2 of the last 3, in very good company and getting the wins in those, is that indicative of what you expect from him in the Breeders' Cup?
Yeah, definitely has a chance, and he surprised me. I didn't think he was as good as he was. I was kind of keen to take him on a couple of times this season, and it's cost me. It certainly cost my wallet as well last time. I didn't really fancy him, and he's got faster. And I often think with sprinters, the more they race, the more experience they get, the faster they get. The older they get, the faster they get. And sprinting is not easy, especially in that division where the open division where you're from the get-go, you need to be quick into stride, you need to travel through the early part of the race, and then you need to have a little bit of stamina in reserve for that kind of final 200 yards or so. And Arizona Blaze just seems to be putting it all together. He's got that quick trapping ability to get himself out in front and certainly towards the front of the field. And yeah, they've done a great job with him. The ammo operation in Ireland with Robson Aguiar and Adrian Murray, like, they're really going places. And I know the people in the know think Robson Aguiar, who would be one of the main men with ammo in Ireland, they think the absolute world of him. And yeah, Arizona Blaze, he ticks so many boxes. It's just hard to see how he won't be involved, and I think he will.
And he definitely ran well when he was at Del Mar last year, finishing second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. The Turf Sprint's kind of the one outlier race, it seems like, for the turf races for the Europeans. There has not been a lot of European winners in that race. Is there a reason to that? Is this, we saw Starlust end up winning it last year. Is this maybe the beginning of Europe starting to pick off this race a little bit more consistently?
Yeah, well, there's a theory over here that our sprinters are useless. Ireland and England, all through the season, Ascot, all the big sprints have been won by massive prices. And just on Champions Day at Ascot, we've seen a 200-to-1 winner. Like, it's just extraordinary what's been happening. And the reason being that everybody thinks they have a chance, so they're throwing their hand into the pot. Like, they're thinking, you know what? I have a 2 and a 7 off suit, but I might win the pot anyway. And the sprinters over here, we're lacking a real star since Batash. Batash was probably the best sprinter that we had, and I'd say we probably haven't seen a Batash since Batash. Obviously, there have been a good few runners at the Breeders' Cup, but I just think we're lacking that kind of star quality. So that's the reason you've had all these upsets in the sprints. But Arizona Blaze is just a rock solid sprinter. He's not an absolute superstar, but he's going to go close.
David Jennings with us from the Racing Post. This is BloodHorse Monday. I'm Louie, Rabaut, Sean Collins hanging out with you. Make sure to catch our coverage on BloodHorse at Breeders' Cup later in the week. Minnie Hawk is going to make the trip after a very, very good second in the ARC. What do we make of her 3-year-old filly? Is she ready for this kind of company? Can she go nose to nose with a horse like Rebel's Romance, for example, if they decide to keep her in the turf there?
Oh, she can. She can beat him. Yeah, she can. She's. I think with Minnie Hawk, if you watch the ARC, I'm sure you've seen it. Like, the two of them, Darius and Minnie Hawk, they pulled clear. It's very hard in a race like the ARC, which is our European Championship. It is widely regarded as the best race in Europe, and for two horses to pull as far clear and what looked a really open race beforehand, and the form has actually been franked already from the ARC, because Kalpana, who was well beaten, won on Champions Day at Ascot last week and bolted up as well. So it looked at quite a strong ARC beforehand. Two horses pulled clear. One of them was a 3-year-old filly, and when I spoke about interviewing Aidan O'Brien earlier on the show, and when I did interview him, it was all talk about Minnie Hawk for the ARC. I was suggesting him, she's your number one ARC. Every time I mentioned the ARC, he kept coming back with the Breeders' Cup, as if to suggest, yeah, obviously she's going to the ARC and we think she's got a great chance and we want to win it, because Aidan has only won 2 ARCs, which is a little bit of an anomaly given his dominance.
Only, yeah.
Yeah, but just his dominance. You see, he's got the record for all these races in Ireland, all these races in England. He's the most dominant trainer in the last 2 or 3 decades. And to only win 2 ARCs, I think in the back of his head, he's kind of going, God, I'd like to win a few more of them. So I think with Minnie Hawk, I think she's a cut above Rebel's Romance. I know Rebel's Romance is the globe-trotting superstar that he is. Brilliant in the race last year, got first run and everything. Obviously, it was a tale of woe for some of them in behind. Emily Upjohn just didn't get a run at all, and a few others. But Rebel's Romance is your rock-solid, globe-trotting superstar. Whereas Minnie Hawk, I think, is the up-and-coming potential to get past that level that Rebel's Romance has. And she's just a really smart filly that's getting better, that hasn't had too hard of a campaign. She hasn't gone to the well too often. Right. The ARC obviously was a big race, and it was a big bruise and battle with Darius, but she's obviously bounced out of it well. And I'd say going over here, Aidan is thinking to himself, I have potentially 2 good things, Minnie Hawk and Precise.
Now, Goliath is another horse in that race that we haven't really seen him here in the United States, but we all know him just because his owner, John Stewart, Resolute Racing, he's very active here in the United States, obviously. And so we hear about Goliath, we see all the updates on him. But from your perspective out there in Europe, how does he actually fit into this kind of quality of a field?
Look, he's a very good horse. I suppose the fact that he's gelded kind of stops him from running the arc and races like that. He's a very, very good horse. He won the King George in Ascot the season before last, and he's a real strong traveller. I just worry a little bit about his recent form. He was beaten by First Look in a Group 3 at Deauville. That form hasn't worked out that well, and was beat Dubai Honor in that Group 1 at Baden-Baden in Germany last time, and Dubai Honor was beaten last time as well. And I just worry whether that form is good enough for a race like this. He is a strong traveller, and when he brings his A game, he's a joy to watch. Like when the way he travelled through the King George at Ascot was a sight for sore eyes. But I just wonder, is he good enough?
In the Turf Mile, which they just call the mile, but I call the Turf Mile, David, so that I can keep them separate in my own head. So apologies to the BloodHorse folks out there. Yeah, there you are. That mile. Couple of very interesting runners coming over. Notable Speech ran in the Woodbine Mile, and frankly, that's been a good predictor of success at the Breeders' Cup with the usual format on the outer turf course there. They ran it on the inside, so it was 2 turns this year. It really sets up differently as far as a predictor. Notable Speech and Salon will be in this race as well. Salon's coming out of the Prix de Moulins at Longchamp. That's a big boy race at a mile for sure. Of those two, are they both major contenders? Is one a step above the other for you?
Oh, I'd have Notable Speech. Yeah, I'd have Notable Speech every day of the week. Just the way he travels, has the experience of running the race. And it just seems to me like he has been a little bit disappointing this season, but he still held his form together quite well. And it just seems to me that everything has kind of been geared towards the latter stages of the season with him. He has that instant acceleration, and that's really what I learned from last year at Del Mar. You need, on that turn when they kick, you need to go. You don't need to be asked twice. You need to go when you're asked first time. And I think Notable Speech does have that instant turn from like second gear to fifth gear like that. He's pacey. And I think he's probably the big Godolphin hope, I'd say. I know Rebels Romance obviously has been there. He's done it. He has a million T-shirts. But I think Notable Speech is probably Charlie Appleby's best chance of a winner.
Are there any horses that are kind of catching your eye that might be flying under the radar here? Any of these horses that could really step up on this stage and maybe pull one of these upsets?
Yeah, like... It's a funny one this year. I think there was probably a more wide variety of European horses fancied last year. If you remember, different trainers were represented. Obviously, Ger Lyons won the juvenile sprint. You had, different trainers represented. It seems, from our point of view, to be very much the Aiden show this year. It seems to be Aiden is the one that basically has all the fancied horses, be it Gestad, Precise, the ones we've spoken about, Mini Hawk as well. So it looks as though they're the ones. Like, you've got the likes of there's 2 contenders there in the turf, Amalok for Rafe Beckett and Ethical Diamond for Willie Mullins. Now, Willie Mullins, for us here in Ireland, Aidan O'Brien and Willie Mullins are the 2 absolutely superpowers. You have Aidan O'Brien on the flat. Willie Mullins is probably the greatest jumps trainer we're ever going to see in our lifetime or any lifetime. And he's bringing over Ethical Diamond, who won the Ebor at York for the turf. So it's an audacious attempt by Willie. I don't think he's good enough to beat Mini Hawk, but wouldn't be surprised if he ran well. And, he's a talented horse who's got plenty of pace. He's a hurdler. And he could rock on to maybe Cheltenham or something later on in the season, but wouldn't be surprised to see him actually outrunning his odds, Ethical Diamond, because he'll have no problem coping with the quick ground. So he's quite interesting. And there's a couple of others in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. A horse called She's Quality that's trained by Jack Davison over here. He's a young trainer going places fast. She's Quality has been hitting every crossbar going. She just can't hit the back of the net, but she's really quick. She's got loads of experience built up, and I don't think there's that much between Arizona Blaze and She's Quality. And if there is no real kind of star home sprinter in that turf sprint, I think She's Quality is the one I'll be interested in. She's about maybe a 12 to 1 shot or so over here, and she might be bigger over there on the day. Right. But I think she's a big player. Wouldn't surprise me if she was good enough maybe to give Jack Davison by far the biggest win of his career.
All right, enough of this green stuff. We'll get you out of here with this. Who you got in the Classic?
Oh, yeah, let's end on a high. I just can't see past Sovereignty. What do you guys think? Like, you obviously, it's going to be a fascinating race. I think Fierceness is potentially overpriced currently. Obviously, you've got, I don't fancy Forever Young. I think Sierra Leone, obviously, it's very hard to rule out. But I just think when it comes to pure, unadulterated class, I think Sovereignty has got it all. I think a lot will have to go wrong not for Sovereignty to win. What do you guys think?
I'm of the same opinion. I mean, I hold fierceness in pretty high regard. Louie knows I hold journalism in very high regard as well going into this. But Sovereignty, everything that I've seen from him this year, he's going to be tough to beat for sure.
I'll tell you the one that I cannot figure out. I don't know how good Forever Young is right now. I simply don't know. And that's the kind of horse that can absolutely upset the apple cart. Whenever we talk about 4 or 5 horses, and then there's another one in the Breeders' Cup Classic, for some reason we get that horse from time to time. But I do think Sierra Leone has a great shot to go back-to-back in this spot. Yes, I think the speed up front is going to give him a target to run at, David, and I think he's got a legitimate shot to go back-to-back.
Yeah, obviously.
But it also sets up for Sovereignty because they run the same style, frankly.
Yeah, obviously this time last year was all about City of Troy. We came over with great hopes, and it was all about City of Troy. And then after about 17 yards, it was all over.
Was it 17 or was it like 15? I mean, it's okay. All right, whatever. All right, he's David Jennings. He's with Racing Post. We'll catch up with you in Del Mar, friend. Safe travels.
Cheers, boys.
All right, thanks to David Jennings joining us here on BloodHorse Monday. Some perspective there that Friday has turned into such a get acquainted with those international horses thing. All of us saw Minnie Hawk in the Arc, and so we saw that Saturday influence. Thrilled she's coming, by the way. I can't believe it. It's fantastic. But talking about Precise on Friday and those kinds of things, a lot of buzz around that horse.
Yeah, sounds like it, friend. From what David was saying there, obviously Aidan O'Brien has a lot of faith in this horse. Those are some pretty big comparisons. Kind of talking about already kind of mentioning Minding, in that scenario.
Yep.
And so now I didn't really know her as well coming into this week. After we had that conversation, I went back and I looked at some more of her races.
Oh yeah.
Now I'm excited.
yeah.
I'm excited to see what we might see this weekend, and obviously what she could potentially do going forward past this weekend when we start looking towards some of these classic races out there in Europe in the springtime. And so I'm not a little extra excited now for the Juvenile Fillies Turf. This is gonna be my race to cover while I'm out there. So
fantastic!
I'm very much looking forward to that.
We'll see David out there as well as part of his coverage of the Breeders' Cup. We'll close the show here on a little Keeneland talk, a little sales talk with Conrad Bandoroff from Denali. He's the vice president there. Buku amongst their offerings here, an interesting conversation about the state of the market as well to open this interview. So I know we've been talking with consigners, and what I like about this, Sean, is we're getting a consistent message.
Yeah,
which is now is a good time to be in the game. Now is a good time for sales, but because of some of the legislative changes and different things that have happened, you can also, on the buying side, there are incentives as well, right? Yes. With depreciation, different things. And so interesting to hear him talk about this. But Buku, the star of this interview, here is Conrad. He is from Denali. Pleased to welcome in Vice President there at Denali, Conrad Bandoroff, to the program here as we continue our look at the Keeneland sale that is coming up. That'll start on Tuesday, November 4th at the Keeneland property. But a reminder that Keeneland is the world's marketplace, and the championship sale is Wednesday, October 29th in the Mar Paddock. The Keeneland November breeding stock sale begins Tuesday, November 4th, and you can learn more at keeneland.com. We're going to talk about 4 different hips with Conrad here. But Conrad, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon, guys. No, appreciate you having me on.
Awesome. Well, just take us through as we're getting close to the sale here. We're a week away pretty much from that starting. What's the excitement level at Denali? What is this final week like of preparations heading into a big sale like this?
Excitement is through the roof here. No, we can't wait. We're excited for the Breeders' Cup this weekend, and then rolling straight into the Keeneland November sale. It's it's been an excellent yearling sale cycle, and we think that momentum is just going to carry into the November sales. And we're looking forward to the Keeneland Championship sales on the eve of the Breeders' Cup. And I think it's a great time to be selling horses, be that yearlings, be that mares. And I think when there is a strong yearling market, breeders go back and reinvest some of those those profits, those good results into the bloodstock market, whether that be with a nice weanling to resell as a yearling, or a nice mare to add to their broodmare portfolio. And then obviously with Keeneland being the world marketplace, and there's a large international participation, be that from Japan, be that from Europe, the Middle East, and I think we're gonna see a large international participation, as there has been in the yearling market in November as well.
Yeah, you mentioned that yearling market. We saw really record success in that yearling market throughout the fall here so far. And just you kind of touched on it a little bit there, but just how much value is that? Some of these mares are in foal to some of these top stallions. Obviously, some of these ones that are coming off the racetrack, all the excitement that's around the yearling sale can really translate into, I want to make sure that I get myself a good mare, then have a yearling in the future. Just touch a little more on that.
Well, it just, as I said, that momentum just carries on. So, you know, when you have a stallion that kind of has that breakout success in the yearling market, or, is having just a tremendous year on the racetrack, and you have a mare that's in foal to that stallion, or you're lucky enough to be able to ride that, that rising tide, then you get to capitalize on that. For instance, we're selling Buku as hip 169, and she's carrying her first foal to none other than Sire of the Moment, and Not This Time, who I was at Keeneland for the closing day on Saturday, and he had the top four finishers in one of the graded stakes, and it's incredible what he's doing, and the year that he's having is really just something special. And to have a mare like Buku, who is, a multiple graded stakes winner in her own right. She was a grade two winner at 2 at Keeneland in the Jessamine, a grade 2 winner at 3 at Keeneland and the Appalachian. But she's also unfolded Not This Time, which is going to be a highly desirable covering. So we're very excited to showcase and offer her at Keeneland November. And we really think that she's the complete package, pedigree, physical. She's a homebred for the Rigney Racing, Richard Rigney's program. We offered her at Keeneland September, and she was bought back and retained. And she's a daughter of Justify, out of a Galileo mare, out of a Giant's Causeway mare, from the family of Adagliadoro. So, I mean, what's not to like? It's a truly international pedigree,
Right.
and there's tons of blue sky ahead of her, and I think she's going to have mass appeal, whether that be to an international audience, whether that be to a domestic audience. And I think one of the most amazing things about what we're seeing with Not This Time is just the incredible versatility that he's throwing, the results that he's getting, dirt, turf, short, long, it doesn't matter. They seem to be winning on it. And Buku is a special offering, and we're excited to offer her at Keeneland November.
I think you sold me there. I think this kid's going to end up.
Well, I'm moving to Ireland, and I'm going to bring Buku with me. That's what I'm hearing. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned Buku there, and being from the Rigney's program. I know you guys have a strong relationship with Richard Rigney and Phil Bauer, his trainer, and all of that. Just talk a little bit about your guys' relationship over the years.
Well, we're very fortunate that we do have a close relationship with Richard Rigney and Phil Bauer, and Denali is home to all of the Rigney Racing broodmares, and this is a special moment in the genesis of the Rigney Racing program, offering this mare who was a homebred and multiple graded stakes winner for Richard. And some people might ask, well, why is he selling a mare like this? And the answer is, we still have the mare Flowering Peach. Buku is incredibly valuable, and I think if you ask Richard really what his goal is maybe it's wants to be a little bit more dirt oriented. And but at the end of the day, this is a mare that owes us nothing, and she's just such a valuable offering, and such a unique offering, that it's the right time to bring her to the marketplace.
That Rigney Bauer combination used to be absolute, just include in allowances. Now it's an absolute include in graded stakes. I mean, it just is developed over the years and really evolved. And Conrad Bandoroff with us from Denali, appreciate him jumping on BloodHorse Monday with Sean Collins. I'm Louie Rabaut. Thanks for hanging out with us, starting your Breeders' Cup week right here on BloodHorse Monday. Some other offerings in here. Breath Away. Great timing, goes ahead, wins the grade 2. Smartly staying, Dan Smartly, excuse me, up there at Woodbine, over a mile and a 16. Tell us a little bit about her, as she'll be hip, number 47.
Yeah, the timing, as you said, couldn't be perfect. She puts together one of her career best performances in the Grade Two Dance Smartly earlier in the month on October 4th. Had to work out just an incredible trip. The jockey rode an unbelievable race and ran a career high number. Ran a 92 buyer in that race and was just super impressive. Very game and. But she's been really stringing together some impressive performances. Miguel Clement's done a really good job with her this year. I think one thing that I is really interesting about Breath Away is she's run a career top 3 straight 10 Ragazins her last 3 races. So she's in the form of her life. She's running unbelievably well. She's entered a run in the Grade 3 Goldacova on Breeders' Cup Saturday undercard, a race that her full sister, Simply Breathless, actually placed in. So we're hoping that Breathaway is gonna go there on Breeders' Cup Saturday and do one better and show up her full sister. So Breathaway is a filly that is really in the prime of her racing career and gives her future owner options. She's sound. She's running unbelievably well, and I think she's got some racing upside as well as obviously, she's proven to have some great broodmare credentials as well.
Now, when you have a mare like her who is, so running so well actively, when the buyers are coming by the barns and they're stopping and you're talking to them, we all see, obviously this is the breeding stock sale, but we all see where these mares are being advertised as broodmare or racing prospects. How do you balance as you're pitching to, a potential buyer, the fact that she could still be racing, but then also the fact that she could be retired as a broodmare right now as well? How do you do you have to play off of what each individual buyer is looking for? Are you pitching both to everyone? What's kind of your take on that?
It's really what is the buyer looking for? There's some people where, they'd have interest in running her once or twice, maybe targeting the Gulfstream meet and running in one of the turf races and, the Pegasus turf or something like that. And there's going to be some others that, are going to say, you know what, she's done enough. She won her Grade 2 and, it's time for her second career. But, a filly or in her mare like Breathaway gives you options. She's 5 years old. If she was 6 years old, then maybe you wouldn't think about running her again or, keeping her in training. But her form is it shows that she's running incredibly well. She's being very competitive at a very high level, and so then you just leave it up to the buyer. They get to decide. That's the beauty of the auction process, right? Somebody buys her and it's their horse now, so they get to do what they want with it.
Conrad Bandoroff with us, VP there at Denali. Another hip for y'all is 1:17 Lot Mehana, the French bred here. Comes out of the Wyeth Stakes, but recently won at Saratoga in a Grade 2 in the Glen Falls. She's getting up there. She's a 2019. Do you see her being retired at this point?
I do. I think she's she is sound. She could keep going and
Yep.
but I would say that in all likelihood, she's probably bound for her next career. But I mean, what a racehorse she's
Incredible.
been, and like a fine wine, has just gotten better with age. What I love about her, she's 9 times winner. I mean, that's a pretty impressive accomplishment. She's a graded winner or placed on 7 different occasions. Grade 1 placed in her native France. Her win in the Grade 2 Glens Falls this year was just absolutely sensational, where she won by 8.5 lengths and just totally dusted a very high quality field at Saratoga, running one of the highest buyers, of the year, running a 104. And she's a very game mare and has had a very fruitful career. And she's a filly that's just taken the ownership on a great ride, has been has been campaigned incredibly well by the late Christoph and by Miguel, and won a graded stakes for Miguel after his father passed away, and is just has been a special filly for all the connections, and she's always had a big heart, and that's one of my favorite things about her is she always tries, always lays it all out, and but I think her performance in the Glen Falls is something that I don't think people will soon forget. I mean, that was some performance that day.
It was special for sure. Yeah.
I was at Saratoga that day. I
Yes,
can back you up on that statement. That was definitely that left me impressed watching her run that race. You guys also, it's not just going to be the broodmares that you guys have here. You also have a weanling as hip number 146 by Gun Runner, out of Grade 1 winner nickname. Just tell us a little bit about this weanling and the opportunity. We've already mentioned the yearling market right now. This would be one that you'd be looking at potentially next year's yearling market if somebody bought her bought this weanling with the idea of selling it. Just tell us a little bit about the weanling here.
Well, we touched, talking about the yearling market. I mean, you look at averages, and I mean, Gun Runner this Keeneland September, he sold $1 million yearling. I think the first 4 sessions or the first 4 books, he had a $1 million horse every session for the first 4 books or something. There's you could fact check me, but it was either the first 4 it was more than the first 4 sessions. Like the first 4 book, there was a Gun Runner 7-figure horse, which is just crazy. He was one of the leading stallions by average this year for yearlings, and just has had an incredible year in the sales ring and is backing it up on the track. I mean, what a stallion, and what a promising stallion he is going to be as we move forward. You look at the stallion ranks, and I think we're really kind of coming into a little bit of a changing of the guard. We've got some stallions that are no longer, they're getting up there. We've got some boys who are, creeping up towards their 20s or, into their 20s. And then you've got a horse like Gun Runner who, he's really set to be king of the hill here for a while, alongside some other very promising horses that we've already talked about. But this Gun Runner nickname, he may be a weanling, but he's soon to be a man, that's for sure. So he's a very physically imposing colt, out of a Grade 1 winning Scat Daddy mare, who's a graded stakes producer. She's got she produced a horse in Ireland named Ides of March, who's by Wooten Bassett, who's a graded stakes performer. So she's a proven mare, Grade 1 winning mare, and this is a colt that is physically very impressive. We think that he is going to appeal to some high end users in November, and we're excited to showcase him to this market. And we certainly think very highly of him here at the farm, and are looking forward to bringing him out there and showing him off.
Sean knows this about me. I think there should be a social media page about the libraries of horse racing. BloodHorse would be stop number 1. We'd go to Monmouth Park after that. Conrad, I need you to put up a bookshelf, because your backdrop, my gosh, is incredibly beautiful. Can we come just do a BloodHorse Monday episode there? Because that's unbelievable. I'm very jealous.
You guys come on out. Happy to host you.
So jealous. All right. Well, he is Conrad Bandoroff. He joined us from Denali, of course, part of the Keeneland sale coming up just next week. My goodness. Calendar's flying, Conrad. Good luck with everything. Should be a spectacular sale, and best of luck with it.
I appreciate it, guys. And good. We'll see you all next week, and happy Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, we'll be out there. Happy Breeders' Cup to you. Thank you. There you go. Conrad Bandoroff from Denali, the VP over there. Appreciate him jumping on, having fun with these sales over at Keeneland. For sure, a reminder that Keeneland is the world's marketplace. That breeding stock sale does start at Keeneland on Tuesday, November 4th, Keeneland.com for all the information there. It's a lot. All right. So the Buku conversation, though, is really interesting to me, because when you catch a horse of her general quality, right, and you talk about that kind of breeding and you talk about that kind of lineage, I'm fascinated with what Conrad talked about early on, especially was you're not just going to have American interest in that horse.
Yep.
Right. We're watching American Pharaoh ship to Japan, for example, on the stud side. horse like Buku, if you look at the past performances for the upcoming Breeders' Cup, American broodmares show up on those turf lines a lot, frankly. It's pretty incredible, actually. And so I would not be surprised to see her somewhere in Ireland, somewhere in the UK, something like that. Would not be surprised.
Yeah, she's got
or here, frankly.
I mean, she's got international appeal, and that's one of the exciting things about a sale like this is you have buyers from all over the world coming in, looking to improve their stock. And she's one that can fit in all sorts of different breeding programs, especially when she's shown the turf ability that she did throughout her career. Europe's going to be looking at that. You would think Japan's probably going to be looking at that as well. Maybe even Australia. I remember Australia came up and bought a couple of our top mares last year at these sales. So
Cogburn's globetrotting as well. I mean, the turf horses from the US are starting to move around, man.
Yeah, they are. And I think I think we're starting to see where a lot of our turf horses are starting to stand up more in this international competition than maybe we did a few decades ago. And so people are taking note of that. And obviously, as you then breed those better turf horses, they produce better turf horses and better turf horses. And that eventually just will snowball to the effect where, these international, especially for some of these international operations that are maybe looking at, pulling in different bloodlines that they don't already have, kind of mixing it up a little bit more.
Right. No doubt.
You have the
and Not This Time offers that opportunity, frankly, right?
Yes.
I mean, for many, many spots. And so what's interesting about him, people are talking about him now like they talked about Candy Ride about 3-4 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Where, buy the babies and then figure it out kind of thing, right? Like they might be good at everything.
They might be.
Yeah. No, that's
they're proven. I mean,
they're showing it.
We had an article on BloodHorse after Keeneland opening weekend that Eric Mitchell did for us, and he dove into this. Was after he had the top 3 finishers in the Jessen, and I believe what he said. You can go check out this article online. Make sure I'm not saying the wrong thing here.
Sorry, Eric.
But I believe he said that Not This Time is only the 4th sire this century to have the trifecta represented in a graded stakes race. So he does that on opening weekend.
And that's in the Jessamine.
And then on closing weekend, he hits the superfecta with his offspring. And by the way, he had the superfecta in that race. He had 3 other kids in that race too. There were 7 Not This Times in. I believe that was that was the Valley View, or was that the Bryan Station this past weekend. But so he had 7 kids in that race. He hit the superfecta, and he was a dirt horse.
I know.
And he's doing this on the turf. I did an article last year ahead of the Breeders' Cup about the fact that he was the sire of Cogburn, the world record setter on the 5.5 furlongs on the turf. And he was the sire of Next, the superstar marathoner on the dirt. So talk about, the ability that he has. It's incredible. And Conrad mentioned there how it's kind of like the changing of the guard right now. Horses, you think a horse like Tappet, he's getting up there in age. We're starting to see, a little less and less of his kids. You have Uncle Mo, who just died at the end of last year. And so we're going to see less Uncle Mo's now. And it's
Arrogate, unfortunately, passed away young.
But some of these guys who were staples of the breeding industry that are now getting to that point in age where we're going to start seeing, less of their direct kids on the racetrack. We'll still see them as broodmare sires, as in the pedigrees quite a bit, but now it's Gunrunner and Not This Time's turn, and we're starting to see them really take over at these yearling sales, and we're going to see a couple more of these horses kind of jump in there with them. But Gunrunner and Not This Time both are really set up to probably be generational stallions at this point. And we haven't even seen Flightline's kids on the track yet. Talk about changing them.
And you didn't mention Justify?
I did not mention Justify.
Only has one British.
How dare I not, given how much of a Triple Crown fan I am. But yeah, Justify is in that mix as well.
And by the way, another sire where we watched him dominate the dirt, and all of his turf runners and sprinters and different things are great. They're great. Yeah, no, it's fun watching that puzzle come together. We are headed to Breeders' Cup. We are doing shows out there.
We are. Let me put that down on my schedule.
I'm doing shows out there.
We definitely are.
Wherever you're watching this, you'll be able to find BloodHorse at the Breeders' Cup. We encourage you to come check us out. We'll have episodes up Thursday, Friday, and a Saturday. We will do those probably late morning, early afternoon. depending on where you live in the country.
Yes, if you're on the East Coast, we're going to do our best to make sure we get them up in enough time for you to watch them ahead of the races on Friday and Saturday.
That's exactly right.
So make sure you kind of jot this down if you want to hear some of our final thoughts. Obviously, by that point, we will be on site at Del Mar.
Yep.
We will be watching these horses. We will be talking to the connections.
Yep.
We'll have kind of that last minute information. We hope we're going to have a couple of our other Blood Horse talent here on the show as well, to give us some of their thoughts on some of the races that they're working on. You'll hear some of these storylines going into the race as well. It's a great opportunity Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for you to kind of figure out the final information you need to be able to place those bets at the Breeders' Cup, to be able to just, if you're one of those people who just wants to sit back and enjoy the races, this will give you all the information you need as far as, just what the storylines are going into these races. It's going to be a whole lot of fun out there. I know you're excited. I'm excited. Let's get out there. Why are we still here? Let's get on that plane.
From today, Tuesday, October 28th is tomorrow, but Tuesday night at 7:00 p.m. on the BloodHorse socials. If you would like to watch our annual Breeders' Cup seminar, you are welcome to join us. I'll be joined by Florida-based handicapper Barry Spears. He's actually making the trip up here for his 50th birthday.
Well, happy birthday.
On Barry Spears' birthday, we will do a seminar here.
So you have to watch it
for Barry.
Or attend if you're in the local area, but you have to watch it in order to say happy birthday to Barry. Wish him
for sure.
Birthday. Give him a nice birthday gift and watch the.
Please comment on the stream. We will throw it on the screen. We would love to hear from you tomorrow night. We're gonna have a ton of fun with that. Not a ton. It's not what we do at BloodHorse, right? These conversations that we have in common. That's what we do, right? We tell these stories like about Mindframe and those kinds of stories. The handicapping thing less, but you'll get a lot of it this week, of course, ahead of the Breeders' Cup. Excited to get out there and get that going. I'll also be available at ESPN Louisville if you would like to listen Thursday and Friday mornings as well on the radio. Lots of different guests there as well. My friends from NBC and the LA Times and maybe even Carlos Morales. How about that?
Ooh.
Well, Carlos.
I always tune in for Carlos.
I mean, you should.
Yeah.
Thank you, Keeneland. And we'll see you at the Breeders' Cup. The BloodHorse is dedicated to the improvement of thoroughbred breeding and racing for over 100 years. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and save BloodHorse Monday on all your platforms. For the latest news, analysis, and insights, visit us at bloodhorse.com.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.